Have you ever experienced a God wink? You know, the kind of experience you know without a shadow of a doubt that God stepped in and gave you a big old wink from heaven. I'm your host, Cindy Spar, broadcasting from Office Evolution in Troy, Michigan. I am the founder of My Collective Network and My Christian Business Network, two amazing business networking organizations. I am a firm believer that there is power in sharing God wink stories. Think of it as a way for people to shine their light on Jesus, one wink at a time. In Matthew 5:14, it says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." Welcome back, everybody, to the God Wink Podcast. My name is Cindy Spar, and I'm coming live to you from Office Evolution in Troy, Michigan. Today is a very exciting day for me because I have one of my leadership team members with me podcasting live, and he's a podcaster himself. So I actually am learning little tips and tricks along the way of how to make myself sound like a midget on the mic, because he knows how to use a Rodecaster with his deep voice. But very excited to invite Rob Stein here with me today. He has quite the story to tell, and he's made a huge pivot in his life that God really pushed him over the edge, and he was as loud as he could possibly be to tell him that this is the next step. So, Rob, welcome to the God Wink.
Thank you. You want me to introduce myself officially?
Yes, sir.
Sounds good. Rob Stein. I am a podcaster, as Cindy said. I am a follower of Jesus. I have worked 30-ish years in corporate America, and I recently left that teaser of the God Wink story to go follow my passion.
So tell me a little bit about the fam. Who's Rob outside of the mission?
I have been married. It'll be 23 years this July to my beautiful wife, Kimberly. And I have 4 kids with Kim, Hunter, Zach, Wyatt, and Cheyenne. The Hunter and Zach are twins, 21 years old. Wyatt is 17 years old, and my daughter just turned 16. So we're in the home stretch, and I'm looking forward to what empty nesting feels like.
Ain't that for real?
Yes.
So you have more family members than that.
I also have 2 dogs. Tequila is my dog. Tequila is actually my dog. I got a little Beagle Dachshund mix right around Christmas time because Dachshunds are cute and Beagles are cute too. So, and then I named Tequila not because of the drink, but more of like Agent Tequila. It was a character in a movie that I had recently watched, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds good.
I just think, isn't your dog a Chihuahua?
Tequila? No.
No?
Tucker is Chihuahua and Terrier mix.
Oh, okay. Because I just think tequila and Mexican dogs. I don't know.
Maybe she's part Mexican. Maybe. But she is a little bundle of energy until she's not, and then she holds you down on the couch.
Jeez.
And then she's a spaz for like 47 minutes, and then she holds you down for like 4 or 5 hours.
47 minutes? That's very particular, yes. So I want to go back in time of how were we introduced?
We were introduced through a friend of mine, Dr. Keith Brennan. He messaged me and said, hey, I know this networking lady, and she's looking to do some stuff, and basically that was the amount of information I got. So scheduled a call with all of us, and at the last minute, Dr. Keith had something come up and couldn't join, so it ended up being me and you and Cora, and it was a pretty powerful connection, I think.
Yeah. Looking back, I remember Cora and I'm like, listen, there's guys wanting a Christian men's group. And we are very female prominent in my Christian business network, but didn't want it intentionally to be that way. We wanted to be diverse. And reaching out to Dr. Keith, he was like, well, let me pray about it. I want to make sure with my capacity that it's something that the Lord's calling me to commit to. And I just find it interesting how God will, you have this strategy, like in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, Dr. Keith, I've known him for years. I know he's a man of faith, a man of God. And God's like, you always come up with these Cindy plans, right? And they say you make plans and God kind of laughs in the distance. But it was so good when Cora and I connected with you. But now that I look back, just sitting here even today, thinking about how we were going after a men's group, and then to see where God was calling you into, this was just a very small piece of that puzzle to reach men.
Yes.
So tell our listeners a little bit about what God did and how he showed up to call you into it.
Do you want me to start like way back in the beginning
Of time?
No, a little bit after that. I'm not that old yet. So about 13 years ago, I went on a mission trip to the Holy Land with a group of 4 people total, including myself. One was the mission trip leader, and then there was 2 other people just like me that were there to serve. We had the opportunity to raise money, but most of us just paid for it on our own, and we went there to teach and work with people on doing business the American way. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but I taught on brainstorming, like mind mapping, if you know what that is.
Oh, yeah.
I taught on the 5 root cause analysis, the 5 whys. I don't remember the third one, so it must not have been that good. But the whole point was we had 3 nights that we invited the local community in, and we had like 3 hours of workshops. And these were people that some were believers, some weren't. And it was at Bethlehem Bible College in Bethlehem. That's 13 years ago. I had been to other places in the world, but I had never been to the Middle East, really. I'd never been to a place like that in itself has that much power. When you walk around there, you're walking where Jesus did. Like, it's a pretty cool experience and also very overwhelming. So the first night was pretty normal. I got to eat regular food, which, if you know me at all, I'm pretty picky. So,
no.
Yeah.
You make good brisket. I mean,
My
Kimberly makes good brisket.
My wife makes good brisket, and I am the one who tastes it. But long story short, over that week, I had a number of good, deep spiritual experiences. One was the second day. So it was the second morning there. We're on the Bethlehem Bible College rooftop, and we were having a morning prayer. And our trip leader, who is kind of the one coordinating all of the where we're going, what we're doing, when, she starts praying for us. She starts praying, and if you imagine, Cindy, because you're here in the room with me, she's sitting to my left. There's another lady sitting across from me, and another guy sitting to my right. So she's starting with them and coming around to me. She starts praying, and she's praying for the one lady who was going through a divorce and struggling with a lot of those things and talking about that. Then she was praying for the other gentleman. There was a recent loss in his family, someone that they invited in who was going through a hard time, and they lost their kid. And then she got to me, and I didn't understand a word she was saying at first. She was speaking in tongues, and I was like, what is going on? This is like I was in sensory overload. This huge weight, this huge presence, and uncontrollable tears. But then I started to understand what she was praying. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm skeptical at this point of like, I've never had this experience. So I was thinking, okay, did she just literally just change the way she's talking? Or did God change it and now I understand it? Mm-hmm. And I'm having this while I'm bawling my eyes out. And I ask later. So she goes through and she prays for me. She prays for some things that she could have never known about unless she had like a deep dive into my life and talked to people, because there's things that were not on the internet. There's things that I didn't share with anybody. So later that night, I talked to the guy. I'm like, dude, did that just happen earlier? And he was like, what? The whole praying in tongues thing? Yeah, I didn't understand a word of it. I'm like, okay, confirmation that she didn't just change what she was saying to now be understandable, that God changed it.
Wow.
And then I started crying again. I was like, this is crazy.
That's like supernatural.
And then we were in the kitchen of the Bible college getting ready for the next day. And she's like, Rob, I'm sorry I didn't warn you about praying in tongues. I don't know when it's going to happen. And it happened earlier today. And I'm sorry that you didn't have any kinds of heads up because I know it can be very overwhelming. I'm like, yeah, thank you. Like, I don't really understand what happened. So she kind of explained a little bit to me. And I'll tell you, that was the beginning of many crazy experiences on that trip.
So but you could understand what she was saying?
Yes. But no one else around us. There was 2 other people there. They did not understand.
Did you ever tell her that?
Yeah, she knew that I could understand.
Oh, okay.
We had a long conversation about it. I even went back years later to the guy and the other lady that was there. I'm like, I got to just one more time fact check because I'm still struggling with this a little bit.
Yeah.
And they said, yes, Rob, she was praying in tongues. We did not understand, and you say you did. Like, I don't know what else to tell you, but that's what happened. I'm like, okay, I just wanted to make sure that I'm not making this up over time.
Yeah.
And
do you think you'll ever be, like, interpreting tongues?
I have no idea.
So you haven't had anything happen
I haven't had
since?
anything happen since. Because when that whole conversation started out, she started with everybody else talking, praying normal. I could understand it all. When she got to me, she started out and I understood, and then it went to tongues, like after 1 or 2 sentences, and then it went to I can understand. And she was praying about generational curses that I went and I fact-checked, like my biological father and some of the things that he was involved in. That no one on paper, you can't trace back my biological father because I've changed my name.
Uh-huh.
So
I just want to stick you in a church where they actively speak in tongues.
Well, that did happen a few weeks ago, and I did not understand any of it.
Oh, okay.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So, like I said, that whole week there was a number of things. That trip leader had been to the Holy Land 5 times. Sorry, ours was the 5th trip, and the other 4, she had never been able to be baptized in the Jordan because it was always so busy. We roll up, and there's no one there except the workers. So we go and we all get baptized in the Jordan. The other 3, there's like no one there still, just the guards. When I turn around, and because I was in front facing them, so I had my back to the lack of audience, I would say. And then when I turned around and went under, there was no one when I went under, and there was a whole crowd of people when I came out of the water. And I was in tears because I'm like, what? Was I under that long that there's now a crowd of people, or did I not see him before? Like, just all these little weird things, not weird, but all these little things that were like, okay, Rob, pay attention. Something's happening.
Yeah.
I heard God speak to me sitting on a bench on the Sea of Galilee, looking out. We all had some private time when we were at one of the locations. I literally had to turn around. Who said that? I thought there was someone by me. I got up and I went straight to the trip leader, like, I'm hearing voices, kind of, and she's like, I know. And yeah.
Wow.
God was talking to me that it's time to baptize you in the Holy Spirit. I don't even know what that means, but okay, like, let's
that your
go.
first time being baptized?
No, I was baptized before that, in Kensington Church, and it's a totally different experience when there's that, when you're the only one, or you're in a small group of people and there's that presence. Mm-hmm. And it was way different, and it's really dirty water in the Jordan.
Yeah.
Really gross.
My brother, he went on a trip Egypt once, and he sorry, listeners, but this is just a small little joke between the leadership team and I. He pretty much blew out the bathroom. And I was like, that sounds like miserable, because like, he was like, what is it going to be like when I get on the plane? And I've got to be on this plane for hours. And it was something about the food in Egypt. But he's done the trip, the journey, like with Jerusalem and all of it, and getting baptized. You know, he would send little videos of being on Sea of Galilee and all of it. Man, what I'd do to be able to take that kind of a trip and have that experience.
So you've known me long enough to know that I use my inhaler like 32 times an hour.
Mm-hmm. So
there, like towards the end of the trip, and I don't know if it's because walking in obedience while I was there, whatever it was, I went for like 2 months when I got back where I didn't use my inhaler at all.
Really?
And I think that was a glimpse of what God told me when I was sitting on the bench at the Sea of Galilee is walking my ways. Like looking over my shoulder, what's going on?
Man.
And then I did not have asthma for 2 months. And then the world sets back in and it's like, now I use my inhaler again all the time because I've distanced from the connection that I had there. I went through a lot of, I would say, withdrawals when I left there because when you're there, it's just so powerful. I was in an apartment basically for a guy. He was an artist, and his view is where the David and Goliath story happened.
Oh,
this is awesome.
Yeah,
I don't ever want to go home.
Yeah.
How do you ever compare to things like that? It took me a while to kind of like, okay, this is where I live. I have to figure out how to be okay with this.
Yeah.
And it was a challenge for a while.
That kind of reminds me of the people that have like this afterlife experience. And it's like, it's not your time yet. Go back. What? No. Do I have a choice? I don't want to go back. Well, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, I want you to tell how God continued to work in you to make a transition that may not have been the easiest transition, but you knew that it was where he was calling you to be. So listeners, sit tight. We'll be right back with you.
Hey Godwink listeners, Audrey Rose here. I am a copywriter and owner of Audrey Rose Copy. I specialize in all things written. What can a copywriter do for you? I write content that adds value and credibility to your business and copy that converts views to sales. Together, we can re-engage your audience with automated email funnels, grow your social media following with an engaging campaign, or give your website a refresh with enticing storytelling. Now, I don't want to take away all of your fun, but I will also write your release forms, terms of service, contracts, and those pesky privacy policies. Whatever your written needs are, I can save you time and provide a solution. As a special to all Godwink listeners, I am offering 10% off my services. Visit audreyrosecopy.com or follow the link in the notes to schedule a discovery call with me today. Be sure to mention you are a Godwink listener, and let's get started boosting your brand. Leave the writing to me.
All right, welcome back, listeners. Once again, I'm here with Rob Stein, and he's shared a little bit about God doing things in such a way that was undeniable. No matter how many people he asked, did you hear tongues? Did you hear English? God was like, that was me speaking to you in a way that only I could do. So, Rob, I would love for you to tell and expand upon what God ended up speaking really into you and the circumstances that happened in your life that brought you to a place that he told you now is the time.
Yeah, and I'll start back kind of like a continuation of that story, but when I got home, right? Mm-hmm. So when I got home, I landed back in Michigan. I believe we had a family get-together, picnic with some friends, but that was on Saturday night. On Sunday, I was getting on a plane again for work to leave, and it was really hard to leave after being gone already. But I went, and I was in a boardroom at ExxonMobil in Houston, Texas, and we're about halfway through the morning, and I start to hear this voice in my head, like, telling me, am I hallucinating? What's going on? It's got to be jet lag. Okay, I'm going to excuse myself. I go to the bathroom. I splash lots of cold water on my face, and the voice gets clearer and louder. It's like, okay, now that I have your attention, talk to me about the fatherless home issue. Didn't give me a lot of details, but that was very clear at some point later, not right then, but like what God wanted me to do is go work on the fatherless home issue. Now, for anybody of the listeners that have not heard my story before, I came from a fatherless home. My mom and dad got divorced when I was less than a year old. And then when, after that, until I was about 6, my mom wasn't remarried. She wasn't with anybody else. Then she remarried, and I had a stepdad in the picture. My biological father was still in the picture, but it was every other weekend rights by the court. And then, but it was more like every 4th weekend or every 6th weekend, or waiting on the front porch or the front step for hours only to get a phone call, or actually for my mom to get a phone call that he's not going to make it. So lots of very broken home as far as no biological father in the home, a lot of years without a father figure in the home, and then I had a stepdad come in. So he speaks all this to me about the fatherless home and how it's getting worse and worse, and that's something that he wants me to go work on. I don't know this. I've never had a good example of the family unit except for the stepdad, and that's not biological. And he's like, biological doesn't necessarily matter. Mm-hmm. It's really about the family unit, having a mom, a dad, and the kids, and how they live. Okay. So over the course of, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, I think, just spinning on this. I win an award actually at work for customer. It's called the Mike Safford Award for Service Excellence. They've only ever given it out 4 times, and I was the second one to be awarded it. Came with a financial, it was like $5,000. So I took some of that money, paid LegalZoom, got a 501c3 started to try to go down the path of doing something as a nonprofit, but I wasn't mature enough yet in business, in life, in spiritual, like I just wasn't there. But I'm like, okay, I clearly heard this. God wants me to go, so I'm going to try. But I also have to have my day job because I have 4 kids. There's a lot of stuff that 4 kids need. So, and God shut that down fairly quickly by a number of different things. I was getting promotions, and at the time, I'm like, this is too good to be true. I'm getting these promotions, I'm getting all this, and then later I'm like, was that the enemy trying to take me off track? And I don't know. I won't know until some future time. But what I do think is it was God, and it was God giving me the rest of the skills that I need to go lead a nonprofit and to lead this type of a movement. Mm-hmm. So it all hit me why this thought wouldn't go away. I'm at breakfast with my wife, and I'm like, Kim, I just don't understand why God would ask me to do this. What do I have to offer? I don't have any experience in this. Like, I don't have a good biological father that taught me how to be a good biological father for our kids. I'm like just trying to figure it out. And then she's like, you have a good dad. You have Tony. I'm like, but he's not my biological father. And then it hit me. Like, it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was in tears in the middle of a restaurant. I think I might have embarrassed my wife a little bit because the tears were uncontrollable. I'm like, that's why. Because it doesn't matter if your biological father is in the picture. You need a father figure. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it is probably more correct or more of the preferred approach to be biological father in the home. But there's many things that takes a biological father out of the home. One that you can't change is the biological father may have died. Well, does that mean that kid goes without a dad for the rest of his life? No, there's other people that step in and fill that role. And I had someone that did. And I had already been doing a ton of research on the statistics. And at that moment, it hit me that I could have been one of the statistics if Tony didn't step into my life. Mm-hmm. And he's treated me every day as if I was his own kid. And he has no other kids that he helped create or anything like that. He has taken me on from day one. He taught me how to play baseball. He taught me how to ride a bike. He taught me how to work. He gave me work ethic. He gave me all these things. And he was able to give me an identity that my biological father didn't. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it all hit me at once, and I was just uncontrollable emotions.
Man. So I want to go back to what you said about when you were at Exxon and that voice you were hearing. Like, how did that pop in out of nowhere, or did you have those thoughts about the fatherless home?
I mean, I would say that I had the thoughts about the fatherless home because I was part of one, but I never really had any kind of passion to go fix it. I had a passion to be a better dad myself, but I didn't have any until kind of that whole experience. I never really thought of it as anything that I can make any impact other than in my home.
Because that's where my mind went. I remember you said you traveled a lot, right, for the company. I didn't travel as much as you did, I'm sure, but when I was with corporate office, they would have us travel out of state, and my kids were young, and I couldn't imagine. Like, I was thinking, did you ever have dad guilt?
Every time I left. There was sometimes also dad relief of like, the kid is crying a lot and I can't sleep and I got to get up and work. So it was nice to have a little bit of a break, but it always came with guilt. It always came with, man, it's horrible. Mm-hmm. There was lots of times that I would sit at the airport and I would be in tears, or at least fighting back tears of another week gone of being with my kids. I felt very much like a weekend dad.
Yeah. I just think.
Are you trying to make me cry?
Yeah. That came immediately to mind. I was just like, I bet you he felt the way like I felt having little kids, and you got to travel, for work. And he has the money. Great. Yeah. Wonderful. But at what cost?
I missed firsts of almost everything of all my kids. I mean, if you put it all together, because I was there sometimes, like I got to see first steps from one kid, but I didn't get to hear first words from that kid, and I heard it from this other kid. So there was a lot. There was a lot of me over the years just thinking I'm a horrible dad, but I'm providing. So my intentions were good. I'm providing it, and I wanted them to have a better life and not have to worry about money like I had to growing up. But then there was, I had my stepdad around while I was growing up, and they don't even have that right now.
Yeah.
So there was I went to see a Christian counselor, and that was the topic of discussion for a long time. And she did a very good job helping me to understand that I'm not a bad dad. Mm-hmm. There's a great exercise that if you've ever been to a counselor, you may have seen it. It's like when you have those negative thoughts, you can reframe them. First you need to do is list out the negative thought, like in the left column, if you imagine 3 columns. Left column is list out the negative thought, I'm a bad dad. Middle column is fact check it. Like, what proves you're a bad dad or what disproves you're a bad dad? It was hard to come up with things that proved I'm a bad dad. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I was gone a lot, but I provided, and when I was home, I was present. Mm-hmm. And then the third column is reframe the first statement from the negative statement to a positive statement. I'm becoming a better dad.
Wow.
And it's like, that was profound when she shared that with me, along with a number of other things, but it was very, very helpful to get me past that point, and I've definitely become an even better dad since then.
I bet there are so many men out there that are like breadwinners, that their mindset is, that's my role. But then when it gets into kids are grown, you're no longer the breadwinner, where's the identity in that relationship now?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time where my identity was the at whatevercompany.com I was working for. It was, I work for this company, and that's, if someone would introduce me or I would introduce myself to someone, hi, I'm Rob Stein, I work for Autodesk, and then you get to the family. And it's not intentionally. It's just we spend so much time working that, and you said it the other day, you're a workaholic. I'm a workaholic. I love working. But I'm getting to a point in my life where I throw it all away. I want to spend time with my kids.
Yeah.
But I have 21-year-olds. They don't want to spend as much time with me, although I did just come back from a weekend away with all 3 of my sons, and it was awesome. You know, my youngest son is 17. He leaves for the Marines in July. I have to accept that he may go into the Marines, and I may get one of those knocks on the door that
Yeah.
that no parent wants to get, but we had to watch our neighbor across the street get that last year or the year before.
Oh, man.
So it touches a nerve, but I think as a man, one, we want to bury that down. We want to put that like all the way down into our toes and never experience that emotion or that feeling. And we have to process it. If we do not process it, it's like a pressure cooker, right? They turn pressure cookers into bombs. And if you have all these emotions and feelings that you're putting into that pressure cooker, it's going to explode one day.
Yeah.
Unless we have a controlled environment where we can hit that pressure release valve a little bit at a time. Okay, that's too much. I can't go any further. But you got a little bit of that pressure out.
Yeah.
You get a little bit more. And then what I've found, journaling is huge for me. It's like one of my favorite things to do, and I hate writing, and I have horrible handwriting. But it's one of the things that have helped me the most. And again, I would have never, being a guy, I would have never thought that that was something that could help me.
It's crazy what happens when you get uncomfortable and you do things that you wouldn't want to do, but you feel like the Lord's calling you to do it. And it's so profound when you act in obedience and do it.
Yep. And one of the things just, I don't know, came to me, we can choose to do hard now and easy later, or we can choose to do easy now and hard later. And most people will choose the easy now, and then later in life, everything's harder. And I've always kind of, at least not always in the right ways, I'll just preface it with that, but I've always chose to do kind of the harder things now, like the corporate life. I'm going to travel all I can now while my kids are younger, where they don't remember that I'm there or not. I'll take the sacrifice of hating it, so that when they're older and they're playing sports and they need their dad around more, I'll be here and it'll be easier.
Yeah.
And overall, that's what I did, and overall, it worked out okay. I still had a lot of baggage to deal with not on my own, but from that about me of like, oh, I must have been a horrible dad. I was never around, especially when you see some of your friends and family that are pointing it out every time. Like, you're never there, Rob. It's like,
Rip off the scab again.
don't you think I know that?
Yeah.
I'm the one leaving every time. I'm the one that has when my kids see my bag by the door, they start crying. Yes, I know that. But also, are you paying my bills?
Right.
Okay, then see your way out of the conversation. So,
Right. Well, tell our listeners a little bit then what this developed into recently with
yeah. So, great question. So I'm going to fast forward a number of years. There was a lot of things. The thoughts about the mission never went away. Like they would go away for a couple of weeks, couple of months, but they would always come back. No matter what distractions came in, they would always come back. And that was like clue number one. God knocking on the door like, Rob, when are you going to do something? Or, Rob, keep this in the back of your mind. This is what I have for you at some date in the future. I didn't understand all of it at the time, and I'll say I still don't understand all of it. But to me, the big thing was my son, Hunter. I was coming back from a trip in Vegas, or from a work trip from Vegas. It would be November 23, the week before Thanksgiving. I get a text message, hey, Dad, do you think we can raise some money to help feed the homeless a good Thanksgiving dinner? Like, sure. He's like, I drive by a couple homeless people specifically. I see them every day, and I really want to help them. Cool. How much do you want me to help with this? Because I didn't want to take over, because I have a tendency to try to do that. And he's like, I want your help because I don't know where to start. I'm like, okay, cool. I gave him a couple of ideas. I said, hey, we just went to that men's retreat. Text your small group. Say, here's what we're doing. So I gave him kind of a template of what I would text, and it's the same thing I texted my small group from the same men's group. We ended up raising $400 from that, I believe, was Friday morning until Tuesday, which is when we said we have to basically shut it down and then plan out how much what we're going to buy, all that stuff. So we raised $400. We ended up making food and toiletry bags kind of for 50 people.
How old was your son at this time?
So he's 21 now, so he was 19-ish. So, yes, that was that made my heart happy.
That's my boy.
Yep. So, but Tuesday came, we got $400, and we're like, okay, what can we buy? So my wife jumped in and helped with, like, we have $400, here's kind of what we can do, and helped us with that. Every bag we had 2 oven-roasted turkey sandwiches. We had multiple hand warmers. We had different non-perishable snacks. There was a number of things. It was pretty good amount of stuff. But then we're like, there's 50 of them. And it's Thanksgiving Day that we wanted to hand it out, and we have somewhere to go. So I'm like, okay, call up Dr. Keith that introduced us. Hey, you want to be involved in this? I've got 50 bags. I need someone to take at least half because we have place to go. So he brought his son. And then another gentleman, his name's Anthony, brought his son. So we all meet at my house, and I hand out bags. I'm like, how many you want? I've got 50 of them. We've got plenty. So how many you want? Anyway, we go give that all out. And on the way home, I get a call from Anthony. He's like, this was awesome. My son's talking about it. It's the best conversation we've had in a couple of years, probably. And then Dr. Keith calls me, and he's like, this was awesome. And he actually got a couple pictures with his son talking to one of the homeless guys. And just, they all loved it. And even like a week later, they were like, when are we going to do that again? So I called Dr. Keith back later. I'm like, hey, I've told you about my passion for fatherless homes. He's like, yep. I said, I think one of the ways that we can restore relationships is through serving in the community with our kids. And he's like, I'm in. So I said, hey, would you want to be the VP for Fathers in Christ?
Sounds like how every organization starts.
Yep. It's an idea, and like you're coming down off of that natural adrenaline rush of just going and doing something. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we formed a board. We got the legal business entity. We actually started out as Fatherhood Initiative because we were thinking, like, by having Christ in the name, we may limit where we can get into for any kind of donations or any kind of teaching or anything that we wanted to do, we may limit. And that was mistake number one, but we course corrected fairly quickly and went back to the original name that I have tattooed on my arm from 13 years ago called Fathers in Christ. Fast forward, we did a bowling fundraiser. We did a Father's Day giveaway. We did a father-son retreat, which was an awesome experience. We were going to do a father-daughter retreat, but apparently in our circle of friends, Dr. Keith and I were the only ones that had daughters. So it was like, we don't want to do a whole retreat just for our daughters and take it, like literally this whole campground would have been ours. Would have just felt awkward. So then we changed that. We kind of then went into the holidays and everybody was super busy. Then in February, we had a few things just with, like, I'm feeling like it's time to, like, scale up. I feel like within the next 2 to 3 years, this will be my full-time job. Remind me, this was February of 2025, just a few months ago. Like, might be in the future of, like, 3 to 5 years away. And through that, and there was already someone who was stepping down on the board, and then the other board members were like, I don't think I can commit to that. I really want to. I don't want you to feel like I'm letting you down, but I can't commit to that time. Like, no worries. You guys have helped me get it to here. That was step one of many steps along the way. So we have essentially an entire new board, and that took, well, we have one position open still, but it took us a little while to get there. We have a lot of good stuff planned. We have a lot of great things, but that's kind of where we're at right now. Oh, and I don't remember the date that I put in my notice, but I worked in corporate. I've been there. It was almost 13 years at that company. Very good reputation. A lot of people impacted through the work that I did. A lot of friendships made, but I was sitting on a call. It was a Monday morning, and we're fasting. As a leadership team here with Cindy, we're fasting. And I was on a work call, and I just felt God say, okay, it's time. Luckily, I already had the resignation notice, because Friday I felt, yeah, like, it's getting close. I can feel it. Monday, he was like, now. I'm like, okay, I opened the draft email and I clicked send.
Boy, that feeling, I still remember it like it's yesterday.
Yep. At first, there was like, okay, how long is it going to take my boss to see this? How long is he going to put me through the waiting game of whatever his response is going to be? So that was like, I want to say 9:30 in the morning. I still hadn't heard anything from him until like 1, which is not like him. If I email him or message him, if I texted him right now, he'd respond within like 5 or 10 minutes. I'm like, what is going on? So he ended up.
He was calling HR.
Well, I don't know, because he did give me the option to unsend.
Oh.
He's like, so there's a long conversation there, but he reached out on Slack and was like, hey, Rob, I just read your email. Read your email. You got a little bit of time to chat at like 2:30, 3 o'clock today. I'm like, you're going to make me wait longer to have this conversation? I wanted to have it I sent it at 9:30. I wanted to have the conversation by 9:31. Come on.
9:31.
I just wanted it to be done. And so we got on the call, and he's like, tell me a little bit about what's going on. I was like, is there anything I can do to change your mind? Would it help you if you stayed on for like another 6 or 9 months? Would it help you get to your mission? He's like, I'm not trying to talk you out of your mission. I think it's an awesome thing. But would it help you if you had more time? I'm like, unfortunately, no, because
God doesn't like safety nets.
Well, and there was that, but I'm like, I've been trying for 13 years to do it and have a full-time day job. I can't. And you could see he was really hoping I would say okay. And he's like, we talked for about a good hour, I think, and there was a lot of different options discussed, and it was, I don't want to say it was peer pressure, but there was a number of times where I'm like, maybe he's got a point. And I'm like, nope.
No, you don't look back once you pull the trigger. You know, the song comes to mind when I first got saved, or born again, I should say, in 2001. There was this song that was popular. I'm going in, I'm diving deep, head over, whatever, washed in the flow. Like, you have to take the leap, and God calls you, do not look back, because then you're doubting your calling.
Yep. Yeah, so I talked to him, and he's like, well, I leave for, I think they call it XLT. It's the extended leadership team. So it's like 80 people. And he's like, I'm not going to be able to think about this. Is there any way, because I had picked the 21st, I think, of April, which was a Monday. And he's like, can I get you to push it to Friday? But he's like, if you're getting on a plane Tuesday morning to go set things up somewhere in Cambodia or wherever, I'm like, it's going to be here in my office in Michigan. Like, don't do this just for me because you think you have to. I'm like, I know, I can hold out by 3 days. So I did that. That way he had time to think about transition plans and not distract him from the meetings he was going into. And then that just gave me a little more runway to, land the plane a little bit slower than hit the eject button.
Well, and when you leave a position, especially that you've been in for a long time or been with a company a long time, other people are watching.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about the observers.
Well, I had a lot of people question, like, you're doing what? What about health insurance? What about this? What about that? I don't know. When you feel so strongly that God has called you to do something, and it was extremely clear, and then the sense of peace was like, okay. And then confirmation the next morning. I had applied for a grant with Google Ads like a week or two before that, and it's only supposed to take a few days. The next morning, not even 24 hours after I put in my notice, $10,000 a month Google Ad grant came in. I'm like, okay, God, I'm in. Confirmation, thank you. I needed that.
Right.
And then every day, like 2 days later, where I had set up the nonprofit in something called Benevity, which connects nonprofits to employers so that they can do a bunch of good things, had like $700 or $800 deposited. I'm like, where do they even know about this? I don't understand. And then there was, like, all along the way, there's been little confirmations. And I don't know if it's because I'm more hyper aware and alert to it now because I got no plan B. Plan B is refer to plan A. But yeah, there was a lot of people questioning. And after XLT, that my boss went to, one of my best friends, I call him my spiritual mentor, even though he's not necessarily spiritual. He's my career mentor. I've always ran every big decision by him. And sometimes he talks me out of it, and sometimes he's like, yes, that's the absolute right thing to do. This one I didn't talk to him about. There wasn't time. God said go, I went.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think of the disciples, okay? He was like, pick up and go and follow me. I mean, can you imagine? Like, there was families. Talk about fathers' homes. What was that like?
Yeah.
You know, when they just pick up and go. But they knew without a shadow of a doubt there was the calling, right? And he's like, follow me. Leave everything behind. I mean, I always put myself in those drastic positions of, geez, we wonder, in our case, like, oh, how are things going to come together? But in their case, they were just like, if you're called, you're called. You need to go.
Yeah. And I think that's why I finally had a sense of peace. I mean, you've known me again since last September-ish. Would you say you've seen a change in me from then or from that whole time until April 25th and that following Monday when we talked on Zoom? Like that quick, weight off my shoulders. Okay, I don't know where my next paycheck's coming from. I have no idea. But I know that it'll be there when it needs to be.
Right. He provides for even the sparrow.
Yeah. So this guy, what I would say is my best friend, best coworker friend at least, is so he calls me up. Like, hey Rob, guess where I was this week? I'm guessing by that line of questioning, you were at XLT and my former boss talked to you? It's like, yep. Okay, how's this conversation going to go? So he went and he was digging deep on a lot of like really trying to, he's like, I'm not trying to convince you, Rob, to not go do it, but would 6 more months really hurt you or help you? Like, it would hurt me if I stayed here 6 more months. One, the emotional and the emotional and mental toll that the stress has been, and especially starting to hear God's calling more and more and louder, and I'm not going. He clarified something for me that I didn't realize. He's like, I can't even remember the words that he used. He's like, I don't believe or not believe. I believe there's a possibility that there is a God. But he's like, I need the definite proof. Like, but do you know what the definition of faith is? Like, you got to take that step in faith, and you don't know.
Of the unseen.
Do I know this is all going to work out? No, I don't. I mean, I've read the story. I know how the book ends. But if this isn't what I think it is, it could be an epic failure. And I'm okay with that because what if it's not?
Yeah, it'd bother you more that you never went in the direction.
And a lot of I think part of, over the past several years, I've been on this whole journey of just working on myself. Journaling, we talked about that. Affirmations, and not I'm a money magnet type affirmations that are really designed to help you achieve goals. They're not, but it's really the process of achieving the goal versus the outcome.
Yeah.
Because I don't have control over any outcomes in life. Like, we talked about this the other day. What can you control and what can't you control?
What's in the circle that your reactions, your...
The circle that you can control is very small, and most people don't like to hear that. The circle you cannot control is very large.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. And I have to tell our listeners, guys, this wasn't like he left a job that paid him like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. This was like the family had to be on the same driven path. Like, Kim couldn't be like, please don't do this to us, right? Like, this was still, the whole family had to know this is the clear next step. direction that God's calling.
Yes, it was not a $60,000 a year. But I think that also, if it was $60,000 or $600,000 a year, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? It just means that there's a bigger gap that he's going to provide for. And what a miracle is that? If he's giving $60,000 or providing $60,000 or whatever it is that you need, doesn't mean that I need what I made.
Right.
Right. I put myself in a position where, I'm was paycheck to paycheck and need what I made.
People make a ton of money and they're still in debt.
Paycheck to paycheck, most of the United States of America.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
like, to me, the money I have a lot of skills. I have a lot of transferable skills that can go into other industries, other jobs. I don't even have to go back into the tech industry. It doesn't matter. I have a lot of skills that I can go make money on, whether it's in my own business or whether it's working for someone else.
Yeah.
I have a runway of some money. I'll tell you, health insurance takes a big chunk of that, but I did learn the other day that I can write that full expense off. So, yay me, I make less money now. But
Hashtag thanks Carl Ruth from AJM Associates for all your education.
Yes, thank you, Carl.
There was one thing, and I better give you a notepad because, listen, I know Rob Stein very, very well, and if I interrupt him and he's on a thought process, he's going to forget what he's going to say. But
What?
Stop. One thing that I think of is just the doors that open for iron sharpens iron. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's an amazing opportunity. If our listeners know of Iron Sharpens Iron, they have these conferences all across the country. And then even in the men's ministry, I remember we went a good, 3 months probably since we had kicked off the men's group through My Christian Business Network. And let's just say Rob had some good time by himself sitting at a Panera Bread where nobody shows up or registers, or they register and they don't show up. And after a while, I'm thinking to myself, I got to just respect Rob's time and be like, I'm okay if we sunset the men's group, And you were kind of holding on. You're like, well, let's just wait. It's not, I'm okay sitting at a Panera. I could work on things if nobody shows up. And then what happens pretty much when you make this pivot?
The floodgates open? I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say they're floodgates because it went from 1 to 0 to 0 to 0 to 3 people showed up at the last one, but 5 or 6 had registered.
Yeah.
But we're 3 weeks away from the next one, and there's already how many registered?
I think it's 6, 7.
And 2 pastors? I think,
yeah.
Okay, God, I get it.
And here, Cindy's way was like, based on the numbers that we're seeing here, I think the best thing we should do is close.
And I had thought about it, but I also looked at it as one, I know a friend of mine, his name's Jeff Frick. He told me a story about he felt really called to start a Bible study. And he put out posters. I think it was Jeff Frick that told me this, but he put out flyers, and he was going to be here this time every week. 51 weeks, no one showed up. But
he still go there for 51 weeks?
On week, I think it was that large of a number. But on week 52, the last week he was going to go do it for a year no matter what. The last possible week, someone showed up. And then it started to grow from there. I'm like, we got to give it time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I remember, and I say this story all the time, when we had a group in the Thumb for Sandusky, there were so many times I'm like, Lord, why are you sending me to where there's no population? I have no market here. And there was usually, if it wasn't just me and Gabriella who led it, there was maybe 2 others, 3 others. Bailey Knuth, Cora Dugan, and we had a couple others that would come here and there, but Tim Morton from Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I could not have the most deep-rooted relationships in Sandusky. That's Michigan, not Ohio.
There's a Sandusky, Michigan.
Uh-huh.
Let me write that down.
Yeah. But I remember saying, Lord, why are we coming out here? Why are we coming? We would have times where, what was it, the sheriff and the city council manager randomly show up at the same time and telling us, you can't stop doing this. You need to keep doing it. We need this up here. And I was like, wow, well, geez, I'm not going to say no to them, but through it turns into like my best friend is Cora Dugan. And I'm like the person that lives in the sticks. So she would go out to Sandusky. She didn't even have her business yet. I'm running a business networking group. And she's like, I don't really have a business, but I know he's calling me to something. And that ends up being my best friend. I'm like, God does such interesting things.
Well, when you think you have it figured out, then you don't.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. I have Jeff Frick, that same friend. He's like, if you can explain it, it's not from God.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about that for a minute. It's like, there's lots of things I can explain that I feel like are from God. But like this, leaving corporate America, I've got almost 14 years at that company. There's layoffs in the tech industry everywhere. And we actually had one at the company that I worked for. I'm like, I could have got a really nice severance package had I held out a little bit longer, a little bit longer. But I actually feel more at peace. Yes, I would have loved to have more of a cushion. It would have most likely, with as long as I've been there, I think I did the math. It would have been like 9 to 12 months of salary. Like, yeah, that's awesome comfort.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's the safety nets you talked about.
It is, yeah.
I mean, I have a little bit of runway, and I got to figure it out, and I don't ever want to go back to corporate.
I think I'm hoping my brother listens to this episode because, Rob, you had a conversation with my brother, too. He's just like, man, I'm frustrated. I've been going from job to job. I just don't feel like I'm in the right spot. And he would love to just be an entrepreneur on his own. He actually, I think your conversation, he ended up getting inspired to do contract work.
Yep, I think, well, we talked about that for sure. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Tell him to call me up. If he doesn't have my number, we'll make sure he gets a link so he can schedule some time. But I'd love to talk to him again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just for anybody listening, great connection that Cindy made, which all of them are great. But he actually uses the software from the company that I have spent my entire career working for or with or around.
Such a small world.
Yep.
And when I introduced them, listeners, he was getting ready to head out on his trip. Wasn't he going to Egypt?
Yes, he was. Well, he was either going or coming back. I think he had to wait because he was getting ready to leave.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's just wait until I get back.
Mm-hmm. He's like, your brother sounds like me. Traveling all over the place. Well, gosh, time flies. I want to make sure that we connect our listeners to learning more. For those of you listening, either you were raised in a fatherless home or you know someone that was raised in a fatherless home. There are just so many kids and grown men that don't fully grasp the heavenly fatherly figure, nor have they had an experience of an earthly fatherly figure. And Rob, you're here on a mission to correct that. Is that right?
Yes. So Fathers in Christ is the nonprofit organization. You can go to our website at fathersinchristministry.org. You can email me at robert.stein@fathersministry.org. You can find me on social media. I'm going to give you my personal social media because that's where everything is connected to for the two businesses that I'm working on running. Facebook is facebook.com/rob.stein.elevate. LinkedIn is linkedin.com/in/Stein-Robert. Instagram the handle is Rob Stein _Elevate University, and university is spelled YOUNIVERSITY.
We will definitely have those in the show notes.
Thank you. That's it.
Oh, you look like, I'm like, wait for it. We're looking at each other. I'm like, I think he's got a little bit more. Well, Rob, thank you so much for joining me on the God Wink today. And listeners, if today's episode resonates with you, or you know of someone that this would resonate with, please make sure that you do connect them to this episode and share the episode. There's always a question that I love to ask people, and it's, what is your favorite scripture in the Bible that is like, I'll say, is the Rob Stein scripture? So, Rob, what is that scripture?
So when I got the invite to come and be on this, there was a few of them, but I've narrowed it down to Joshua 24:15. And that is a fairly long verse. I'll just give the short of it is, but as for me and my whole household, we will serve the Lord. And I have that behind me on my bookshelf on a wood plank as a verse that when I'm on a Zoom and I'm looking in the Zoom, I see it behind me all day, every day.
What church do you call home?
Woodside Bible Warren.
Woodside? No, it's a plug for Woodside. And what's the other verse?
I really like Colossians 3:23, and whatever you do, do it for the Lord, not your worldly masters.
Ooh.
Paraphrase that, but
yeah. Say that again.
Colossians 3:23, and whatever you do, or in all that you do, something along those lines, do it for your Lord, not for worldly masters.
There are so many worldly masters out there. Like, listeners, social media.
Yep.
Right? A lot of things that we're calling a master. I call them a distraction. But yeah, I love that. Beautiful. All right. So we are going to go ahead and close out today, but we would love to encourage you as listeners, if you've got a God Wink story, we'd love to hear it. And you can share your story by visiting our website at thegodwinkpodcast.com. We also have areas in there for our business people out there that are really looking to connect with a Christian audience. We would love to have you be able to get on the podcast, share about your business, be able to really just share the services that you provide, because our listeners love to support our Christian business owners. So when you visit our website at thegodwinkpodcast.com, you will see opportunities there to be a featured sponsor on our podcast. But other than that, listeners, be blessed. Make prayer a priority in your life. And for those of you that have lived a fatherless upbringing, I just pray that you would reach out to Rob. I also pray just over your life that God would show you a different version of a father than you've ever experienced in your life. May he just show you that there is a different way. What we experience on earth, whether good or bad, it is not always what God is. And he really wants to be that fatherly figure. He wants to be a husband, right? A dad. Every form of man, he wants to show you the right way. So I'm so excited to have you guys listen in on the next God Wink. Have a blessed day. Take care. I want to give a big thank you to Office Evolution Troy for providing their podcast studio for us this afternoon to record. If you have any questions or you would like to book your own time in their podcast studio, give them a call at 586-788-9966. If today's God Wink story really hit home with you, we would love to hear about it through the God Wink community on Facebook. If you know of someone that needs to hear today's God Wink story, show them some love and tag them on the God Wink podcast. You never know how a God Wink story might change their day around for the better. If you or someone you know has a God Wink story that the world needs to hear, we want to hear it. Simply click the link within the podcast notes to send in your God Wink story. Until next time, remember, God's got you. Wink, wink.